Opening day is here, and the Baltimore Orioles previews are still coming your way fast and furious. God's favorite host. We're almost at the finish line, breaking all the previews down for Baltimore Orioles. God's favorite host here. Today we're looking at the bullpen and if they can hold up without the mountain. It's the Flex Zone Podcast. Make sure you guys subscribe if you're new. Turn it off in the comment section. Make sure you hit that like button and hit that bell. Opening day is here, and we are back again on the Flex Zone. More Orioles talk. Birdland, Flex Zone family, baseball fans, you have officially made it to opening day if you're watching this video. So congratulations to you and happy opening day. It is like an unofficial official holiday, especially in this area when it comes to our birds of Baltimore. I've been breaking down the previews for you, still working on a few, and we're getting close to the end of all of the previews, and we'll be getting into the meat and potatoes, which is the 2024 season. Of course, we'll be live today for the post-game show of Baltimore Orioles and Los Angeles Angels. Excuse me. Maybe a Freudian slip. Maybe we could see the Orioles and Dodgers later on this season, if you know what I'm talking about, in October possibly. But let's look at the bullpen. I mean, we know the mountain, Felix Bautista, the guy who was the best closer in baseball, won the Reliever of the Year award. Another home run by Mike Elias, Sig Mejdal, Brandon Hyde, the entire ownership and management and player development of the Baltimore Orioles, doing a fantastic job finding a guy who was a career major, a minor leaguer, pardon me, turning him into the best major league closer. And it was an eerie feeling that night when he got hurt. I believe they were playing the Yankees or they were playing somebody. And it was a Friday night, whoever they were playing. And I saw him throw that pitch. And I saw what happened. First, I thought it was a lower leg injury, and I thought, maybe he could be back for the playoffs. But once they said it was his arm, then I figured it was going to be TJ, Tommy John, rhymes with Jimmy John. At the time, I wasn't trying to say it because I had a feeling when they said arm injury and the way he throws so hard, I said, yeah, he's done for the year and probably all of this year as well, which he is. But they did sign him through 2025, so we will have the mountain back next year, healthy, hopefully ready to go in spring training and ready to go next opening day to run the orange carpet because he deserves it. And he's as much a part of this team's success, especially in the bullpen, as anybody else. You talk about team MVPs, we know about Gunnar, we know about Adley, we know about Cedric Mullins, we know about Mountcastle, we know about Tony Taters, Anthony Santander, we know about Grayson Rodriguez, you got Corbin Burns, but Felix Bautista was as big a part as anybody. And looking at this bullpen, how are they going to fill that void? The back end of the bullpen is maybe the biggest question I do have with this team, along with maybe some spots in the rotation. But I think if they get healthy, those can be figured out, I think. Craig Kimbrell, you bought him in last year. He had 23 saves. He was an all-star, but in the playoffs, he did wet the bed. A lot of Phillies fans blame him for the reason that they didn't make the World Series. I think that's a part of it, but I can't put it all on him. I'm expecting, if he can give us 20 saves, he's not the Craig Kimbrell of old when he was with Atlanta and all-stars after all-stars. But I think, and he was the best closer in the baseball for a 3 or 4 year period, possibly. If Craig Kimbrell can just be solid, if he can just give us 20 to 25 saves, I really like what this team could be, especially in the back end to close out a lot of games. Yunier Cano, he was fantastic last year, getting him from the Minnesota organization, developing him. And speaking of player development, along with Felix Bautista, all-star was Cano. He did a fantastic job. He's had a really good spring. He literally ran out of gas last season. That's what I think happened to him. And that's why I don't want to see this bullpen overused early on in the season, because you see that late in the season, guys are worn out. Cano, I'm expecting a good year from him. He can close if need be. He can be a setup man. He can be a middle relief guy. But Cano, I think he may even make another all-star team this year. He could be in contention for the all-star game, I think. If anybody in the bullpen is going to make the all-star team, I think it could be Cano, especially at that setup role. But I think Kimbrell and Cano, I mean, between the two, could we get 30 saves, possibly? I'd be cool with that. And I think they are good enough. As long as Kimbrell It used to be if Kimbrel's coming in the game, you can go ahead and go to bed, it's over with, like Batista. But now you kinda gotta sleep with one eye open, make sure, he gets it done. That's why I said Cano can step in if need be. We've even seen Coulomb and Perez step in. And I wouldn't even be against Dylan Tate, who I'll get to in a second, who's back, stepping in if need be. But Craig Kimbrel, he's gonna be a closer. Cano as setup. I think you're okay there. Like I said, let's see what Kimbrel does. Let's see if he can get 20 to 25 saves, I'm cool with it. It's a 1-year deal. We know Batista will be back. I really love Coulomb and Perez, the lefty duo, and they really get it done. I mean, Perez had a great year 2 years ago, started off shaky last year, really found his stride at the end of the year. Loved what I seen out of him. Coulomb was a great find as well from Minnesota. One of those spring training acquisitions late in spring training. Boy, was he a good find. Good job getting arbitration with him to keep him. I love what they do. Two lefties in your bullpen that can really get guys out, righties and lefties. It's very, very important, especially in the American League East, and especially in the baseball season where it's all about matchups, especially when you get to October in the postseason. So I think Coulomb and Perez are as good as any in the middle of the bullpen, and then you can get to a Cano and Kimbrel. So that's your core four: Perez, Coulomb, Cano, and Kimbrel. Those are going to be the key guys you need to watch because if they're doing what they need to do on the back end, I think the Orioles will be able to win a lot of games and win a lot of close games. Always look at one-run games. What is the team's record in one-run games? That is a key indicator of how the season may go. Dylan Tate is back. I'm very, very excited with Dylan Tate. I think he could be the breakout candidate of the year because I think people forget how good he is, a former top draft pick, failed starter, but a good bullpen guy, throws hard, a righty, really can put him in a middle relief role, can pitch multiple innings if needed as well, but I think a guy who through the season will start to hit his stride again, and I think he has shown some things in spring training. I think he will be back to normal business as usual. And I think he's finally healthy. And like I said, I think he will only get better as the season progresses. So around the All Star break, maybe he could be in contention possibly to be, I wouldn't say an All Star, but a guy who could get some love. I mean, Bauman, let's look at him, another failed starter. This is pretty much the last year of him. I know he has an option. I think this is the last year of his. He's out of options, so this is his last year to really, really change the trajectory of his career. But he won 10 games last year, and I really, really like what I saw out of Bauman. I like Bauman. He's a guy who can be long relief because we know Cole Irvin and now Tyler Wells, guys you thought were going to be in your bullpen, are now starters because of injuries to Bradish and John Means. But if you look at it, you bring in a guy like Bauman back, he can get you some wins. We talk about those guys in the bullpen can go 3, 4 innings if need be, long relief. Bauman is a guy that can do that. Keegan Aiken, who's had a good spring, he's looking to bounce back. I think he's another guy that can do it. I expect a big year bounce back from Keegan Aiken. I know 2 years ago he was really good. Last year he was up and down. He's one of those guys who is a little up and down. I'm really, really looking forward to Keegan Aiken to bounce back to what he was 2 years ago. I think Bauman will be a little bit more the same. I don't think he's going to win 10 games, but could he win 5 to 7 out the pen and really just can be consistent all season? I think so. And Jake Webb, another guy who got from Arizona. We talk about the moves Mike Elias has made. He's fantastic yet again. Everyday Jake, they call him, because he pitched every day and he was damn good. And he did kind of fall off at the end of the season. And I was a little concerned about that because he was pitching so well. He was untouchable, like Cano, like a lot of these guys in the bullpen. And unfortunately, it was like his luck kind of ran out because he came from the Angels, excuse me. He came from the Angels. Brandon Webb is with the Giants, excuse me. But he came from the Angels. They got him for nothing. I'm glad they kept him. And he was really, really fantastic last year throughout the regular season. But towards the end of the season, heading into the playoffs, much like a lot of the bullpen, I think they were, like I said, worn down. They were gassed because they pitched so much. Like I said, every day Jake was pitching every day. He's only 30 years of age, but he had a 3.69 ERA in 54 games. He did have a save, so he's a guy you can throw back there to get saves if you need to. He pitched 53 and 2/3 innings, 57 strikeouts with a 1.29 whip. So if everyday Jake can kind of be what he was when he first got here, you got Webb who can give you an inning or two. You got Aiken who can give you an inning or two. I think Bauman can give you 2 or 3. I think Dylan Tate might be able to give you 2 or 3. Perez can give you an inning. Coulomb can give you an inning. Let's just hope that the starters can go deep because we don't want the bullpen worn out. But we know Brandon Hyde does not have a problem yanking his starters early and going to his bullpen and making it a bullpen game. And really, I think even without Bautista, Batista makes the Orioles bullpen as good as any. But I still think they're underrated. I still think they have some guys who are going to perform well. Like I said, I like Jacob Webb. I think he's going to have a solid season. I think Aiken is going to bounce back to be better than he was last year. I think Bauman you'll see more of the same, even though he kind of faltered down the stretch. I think Dylan Tate will be able to be that guy that you can put in middle relief to really hold and really set up for Perez, Coulomb, Cano, and Kimbrel. Like I said, those guys, and I'll even throw Tate in the mix if he's healthy. Tate, Perez, Coulomb, Cano, and Kimbrel, if they're just able to do their jobs, I think this bullpen is going to be really good. Because I think on the front end, Baumann, Aiken, and Webb, you're not going to have to use them as frequently. And if your starters are giving you 5 or 6 innings, you don't have to pitch multiple innings in the bullpen. So I'm really, really intrigued to see how Brandon Hyde utilizes his bullpen early on in the season because we don't want them running out of gas. And I would not be surprised if this team was to make a move. We know David Rubenstein has been approved as the new owner. I did a video on it yesterday. Would you be opposed? Let me know in the comments to maybe trading a Kyle Stowers or trading one of these young sought-after prospects for a solid reliever maybe towards the All-Star break to put in the back end of the bullpen to help solidify what you have with Kimbrel, Cano, Coulomb, Perez, Tate, Baumann, Aiken, and Webb. Because if Kimbrel's not what you want him to be, if he's starting to blow saves and he doesn't look like he's lost it, it's only a 1-year deal, you could bring in a guy who could close. You could bring in a guy who could maybe be in the middle relief or another specialist. So I think if anything, I know we love the starter aspect, and like a lot of people are saying, if David Rubenstein was approved 2 days ago, he'd probably bring in another big free agent like Jordan Montgomery, 1-year deal with Arizona. But I think if this team is to make a move, because I don't think they're going to make a drastic move, like I said, there'll be buyers at the trade deadline. I can see them making a move for a reliever to really solidify the bullpen. And when you get into the playoffs and you get into these close, tight games where matchups and manipulating your bullpen and manipulating your pitching rotation is very, very paramount, they could add and upgrade that position. Then you could maybe have a guy who has maybe is on a free agent deal who's pitching for a contract, or a guy who's only maybe even a controllable guy. If you're going to give up a decent prospect, you got Kyle Stowers. I don't know what they're doing with Mayo and Norby, but I think Stowers is maybe at the top of that list of guys who could be traded, maybe for a reliever, especially if he comes up here and hits well. But I like the bullpen. Like I said, it is a little concerning, just the back end, because I don't know what I'm getting out of Craig Kimbrel. But I think if Cano, Coulomb, Perez, Tate can hold it down, Kimbrel doesn't have to save every game. We have guys that we've seen do other things that can be versatile. And I think that's very, very important. But I would love to see them potentially. I don't know who's out there. I don't know who's a trade candidate. You can throw some names at me. I would love to see them maybe make a move for a reliever, like they did kind of with the Andrew Miller thing a few years back when he got him from Boston for Eduardo Rodriguez. In the short term, it was a good move. Obviously, in the long term, you lose a starter. But that move really put us in contention. Andrew Miller was as good as anybody. I don't know if there's a guy that good out there on the market or will be available on one of these teams who could be sellers at the trade deadline. But I know the Orioles are going to be on that list of teams that is looking to buy at the trade deadline. And honestly, when you're buying at the trade deadline, these teams know that you're buying. So they're going to try to get and suck you dry and take whatever they can from you as much as possible to suck you dry, in a sense, to like a mosquito, to get their assets and give up their good valuable piece. But I would love to see them maybe make an Andrew Miller type trade at the trade deadline if they need to. But if things are going well, and you could get a situation where Tyler Wells or Cole Irvin has to slide back into the bullpen because Means and Bradish are back, that will only make your bullpen that much better. And that's like making a trade without having to give up any assets or additional pieces. But I want to hear from you guys. It's opening day. I got the Orioles previews. I talked about Brandon Hyde. This is the break year. I talked about the outfielders. This is the last year of the outfielders. We know it. Talked about the infield. When we see Jackson Holiday. And now I'm talking about the bullpen. Got the starters, guys. Make sure you check out those videos. Check me out on the post-game show tonight for the Orioles and the Angels. Make sure you swing for the fences, hit that subscribe button. Now enough in the comment section. Let me know what you think about the bullpen, what you think about the loss of Felix Bautista, if the Orioles can hold up with that. And let me know any other Orioles-related content or any other videos you want to see on the channel. To Flex On Podcast, only place giving you your Orioles coverage and sports coverage, how you want to win. Hit the like button, helps us out tremendously. Sign up in the comment section, subscribe if you're new, and hit that bell to know when all new content drops. But no Mountain, no Felix Bautista. But let's see, let's believe, let's have faith that Kimbrel, Cano, Coulomb, Perez, Tate, Baumann, Webb, and others who I'm sure will come up and be shuttled back and forth are able to get the job done. And if not, they have the assets to make a move and upgrade that area if needed as well. But Michael Elias, he's knocked it out of the park with these moves. Craig Kimbrel's a low risk, high reward. And I think we'll see 20 to 25 saves from him. I think they'll be good. But I'll see you guys on the next one right here on the Flex Zone podcast. Have a good day.
Screaming for nothing, just to feel something. Just had me one day.